Hi everybody. Everybody was probably wondering what was going on with the watering system that I put into my greenhouse. So remember we had this part down here and I had tried a couple different parts. Nothing was working for me and I finally gave up on it. I hunted around on Amazon and I found this thing here. It's a 3/4 adapter with a quarter barb on it, and as you see I have it zip tied here. It's really tight and it's absolutely not even leaking whatsoever. As you see, I ended up losing most of the paint due to trial and error with different heads and stuff. I ended up switching out the water pressure gauge to one that just connects directly on, which is always on here, showing the water pressure. It's a little moist and damp today, so you can't really read it, but it sits around 70 psi. So this whole water system is 70 psi. Right now is when it's running. Everything is tight, all the fittings are tight, and I'm going to go into that, why it's running at 70 psi's. I really want to make this video really short because I know a lot of people just don't like rambling. So I got this adapter, I put it on here because the inline was leaking. I didn't like it, it wasn't working right, and it wasn't putting out enough water pressure. I wanted to basically get out as much water pressure as I possibly can get out of my system. So I first connected this onto here and I tested the water pressure from my house, and it comes actually is at 80 psi. And this runs around 70, and I'll tell you why it runs around 70 in a couple seconds. So I got this on here, I have it zip tied on, it's really nice and tight. I took some of the slack out so that it has to run a little less. So as you obviously know, it does run along the side of the house, between the concretes, and then under and up into the first greenhouse here. System stayed basically exactly the same. The only thing that actually ended up changing, which caused an issue with the water pressure, was I had to actually add in another head back here and another one here because these guys weren't getting watered properly. One of the things I had to do as the water pressure got higher is I had to put zip ties on where all the connectors were, because as I was testing it over the course of time, because of the high water pressure running through these lines was actually disconnecting these things. They're all popping off and it was becoming an extreme nightmare. So of course I had to run through with little black zip ties and zip tied all the connectors, right? Alright, so we got that established, right? Everything is watering nice. It's been running for an hour. Everything is established water. As you can see, a lot of the leaves are drooping over. It was a little damp in here before I started running the system, but I am going to shut it off, obviously, so that the leaves can perk up. A lot of this water can drain out, and I probably won't have to water it for another day. Now as we head over to the herb greenhouse, this was the biggest issue. The water wasn't actually getting to here through the lines. Once I added another two over there, and then I added one back here, and I added one back there because it was the same issue. Nothing was getting watered in the corner. As you see down here, I have some corn that's growing. And this one here, I was trying to do some peppers, but it wasn't working out, so I'm probably going to get rid of those. These guys get a little bit of watering from the misters that are around it. And what I did is, because this is a Jiffy setup and it was starting to like retain too much water, I just flipped the tray over and I just put that on top. I ended up buying a little bit smaller bags. I didn't really like them. They're actually a lot smaller. I think they're like 26s. It's supposed to be like 30, 40s or 50s. Don't quote me on it. I forget the size of the little bags. These bags did work. I will use all of the little bags I have, but I'm going to go back into buying the actual size that's supposed to be in here. But this is actually working out pretty good. And as you can see, those are just the seeds for corn, because I'm going to be experimenting trying to make a cornfield. But anyway, as you see, everybody's getting watering nice. We have our mixture of beans. We have our hot pepper back there. We got some cucumber plants in here. My spinach, I trimmed the bottoms of them. I got to trim them again, and they actually end up growing up like a tree, which is pretty cool. And it makes the bottom stalk extremely strong. I have one little sunflower back there. I have my asparagus, and my bean plants are kind of having a little fun fight right now, but that's okay. Chives, my rosemary, my basil. You can see that basil is just really popping up here. If you notice in all my greenhouses here, I just had to move them over. This is my citronella plant. Each one has one. And actually, surprisingly enough, the citronella plant actually keeps all the bugs out. There's absolutely like 0 bugs in here. It's really, really nice. You know, you can see everything that's back here. We got the oregano growing. We have the parsley is really nice. I did the same thing with the parsley that I'm doing with the spinach in the back, as I'm treeing it. So I took a stalk, I mean, I actually took a barbecue skewer and I stuck it up, and then I just tied it off like that, and I've been trimming around it, and it makes like a little tree. It's pretty cool, and it actually just kind of helps it grow a little bit better because it keeps it off the ground. I might do that with a couple of these other guys here, like the oregano. You know, get like a stick on them, bring them up, and make them grow up like a tree. The basil, the Italian basil, kind of holds on its own, but some of the other ones don't. Rosemary does, chives do. Just trying to stalk them up. So as you see, all of the sprinkler heads, especially this guy's the last one. It's the last one that's running. And as you see here, like I didn't put the zip ties down this section here, but I had to put it on the top there because that was actually causing a little issue. And with the misters in here, we are fogging up inside this camera. So anyway, so where the 70 psi came from, well, this wasn't getting watered. So the first greenhouse was getting watered, but this one was basically getting drips, and it wasn't working out to exactly how I wanted it to be. So I had to jump down the rabbit hole and figure out how to get more water pressure in here, and that was basically by doing one thing only, and it was just by raising the water pressure by having it directly connected. Now what's cool with the misting system is you don't have to open up your greenhouse at all. I have the vent open right now. It's always good to wash off your greenhouse as well on a daily basis, just to get rid of the film that's from the pollen on the outside and try to minimize the moisture that's collected on the inside. Normally my doors are never open. I did it just for the video. The only time the doors are open is when there's a harvest going on or if there's new additions being put in. But usually you want to keep your door closed all the time to keep the critters out, and even the vent open just that much, which really isn't a lot. I mean, we're looking at maybe 3 fingers open. It vents it nice, plus it keeps the birds and the critters out as well. This area back here is going to be the area that eventually is going to be turned into a cornfield. Probably not all of it, probably some of it, but I definitely want to try to use something of this land that I got back here that used to be a pool, and I want to turn it into a big cornfield. So as we go back over here, as you can see, it's still not leaking at all. So basically the ending of the watering process, after an hour, I come back outside. I'm going to shut it off. Just all you're doing is turn it off. As you see, the water pressure shuts off there. I like to shut this off so that the water doesn't constantly go into here. This is for my hose, and then down here I just release the pressure that's left over from the line. Now I always leave this butted off so that I don't get air trapped in it in case it does, and I just make sure my water's off. I always keep this down because every so often my faucet head does drip a little bit. But other than that, guys, that is the successful ending of my irrigation system for the greenhouses. It was really simple and easy to do. Once I had those 2 fixes in play, it made life 1,000 times easier, and it stopped the leaking process. Surprisingly enough, these little orange heads can handle 70 psi. As you saw, they ran for an hour, and it's simple. You walk over, you flip the switches, you turn it up to 70, you set the timer on your phone, and you go back to doing whatever you're doing. You can even work inside the greenhouse if you want to, but see how clear and clean that is? All that was is I hosed off the outside and the inside before I started watering. The sunlight's going to get in there and penetrate everything. All that water's going to dry up. The plants are going to absorb all that water. They're going to drink it in. They're going to grow really quick. Spinach has been cranking out. I mean, it's almost about 6 inches every other day I'm getting. Maybe about 2 inches a day, I'm going to say. 2.5 inches a day. That spinach grows. And as we trim the bottom up, it stimulates the plant to grow. And my spinach plant, if I keep doing it the way I've been doing it, I'll probably have it by July. I'm guessing it's going to probably be up to here. But who knows? We'll see what happens with it. I don't know how high I can get it to grow. I don't know if I'm going to have to stake it. As you can see, there is some like little wooden stakes in the back of it. See that little brown? That's just like a barbecue skewer. It was all I had at the time, and I was just experimenting with it, but it kept it perked up in the air. You see the sunlight's coming up now. Everything is going to start drying out. So this is just a quick update of it. So 70 psi, simple little water system, couple little parts, and that's it. You can just put a quick, simple irrigation system into your greenhouse, and I think all said and done, it is, with the updated parts, I think it was like a total of $50, and you do it yourself. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'll do my best to answer them. Anyway, have a good one.